Hello, and welcome to week 10 of public speaking. By now, everybody's getting used to the way things work, and things are going to speed up and slow down a little bit. So, I'm going to do some explaining to you. But first, I'm going to share with you what is due by the end of this week. You will be working on your entertainment speech outline. Okay, so the entertainment speech is set up like every other speech we do with the introduction. And what's in the introduction? Well, that would be the thesis statement now, wouldn't it? But the fun part about the entertainment speech is that you can have a little more fun with it. We'll go over a couple of ideas in a moment, but it's a less serious message than others. Now, you don't have to try to make people laugh in an entertainment speech. I know that the title's a little confusing, but it's not about being funny. It can be, and I love that, but it can also just be about something lighter, something more entertaining. In the body, you use the same format. You go through your speech from your thesis statement, and in your conclusion, you go back over your thesis statement and reinstate the message as it says here. And then you can link back to a joke or a story if you told one, but that isn't mandatory. You don't have to make me laugh if you don't want to. So, here's some ideas that you can think about. You can create a how-to video. You can teach us how to make cookies. You can teach us how to pick up a girl in a bar, whatever works for you, how to do something. It can be biographical, so you can tell us about someone famous or someone you know who's done something amazing, and you can share that information with us. Representing the topic from various angles, points of view. The speech may focus on an unusual angle that makes the audience think about the topic in a different way. The speaker can practice dramatic twists to illustrate their point, and the speaker may use illustrative material, meaning, when you're in your PowerPoints, and that's something that I do need to bring up, you need to have more pictures. It needs to be more visual. That's what the PowerPoint is about. This is to help you if you go into a situation where you're giving a speech. If you're doing a PowerPoint, you're not putting a bunch of words up there like I'm doing here because I'm trying to teach you something without being in front of you. So you want to use more pictures and more visual aids. So here's some ideas. Why we don't win the lottery, excuses for every occasion, how to impress a woman, crime does or doesn't pay, what to do on a lazy Sunday, what you shouldn't say to a police officer, things men would never say. How about things men always say? Or extreme golf courses around the world, or extreme vacations, or something like that. So I'm just trying to give you a little idea of what you can do in an entertainment speech. It's very light. It's very fun. This should be the most fun speech you give. You can make us laugh if you want to, but you don't have to if you just feel more comfortable teaching us how to do something or sharing something interesting with us. That's fine as well. So here's a breakdown of how this schedule is going to work. You are going to have your outline due by next Saturday, March the 12th, by 11:59 p.m. We all have that memorized by now. And then the following week, that next Saturday, March 18th, that speech is due. Then your persuasive outline is due the week after, the next Saturday, the 25th. But if you'll look here, you will see that your persuasive speech is not due until April the 15th. That's because I always give an extra week to work on the persuasive speech. It's your big final speech. It's a 10 to 12-minute speech. So you really need to concentrate on it. And then you have spring break falling in there, and I don't like to make people work on their spring break. So that'll be your big finish speech there. So I'm giving you a lot of time to think about this. And these are your last 4 assignments: your outline, your speech, your outline, your speech. And then your final will be on Monday, May 1st, anytime from 10 to 8. And here are the different locations. You got an email about this before, but I like to go over it with you. It's online, and you can take it anytime during those days. And I will actually give you, during that day, excuse me, I will actually give you another email just to remind you so you know what's going on. But this is just to kind of put that into your head. So I'm going to talk about persuasive speech because we talked about entertainment speech in a different video, and I'm just going to go through persuasive because it seems to confuse people the most. So persuade, to influence the attitudes or behaviors of others. Now, this isn't your next speech, it's the one after it. I just want you to get it into your head. You don't have to absolutely convince us of something, or you can really try to. As long as you get people to think, that's the important part. Persuasion, the deliberate process of influencing or convincing others to share your beliefs. You want them to think a little differently. In public speaking, persuasive speech is used the most frequently, and it's used the most frequently in politics. Politicians are always trying to persuade us to think like a Republican or to think like a Democrat or a liberal, whatever their side is. It's meant to influence audiences' attitudes, beliefs, values, and or behavior by appealing to a combination of needs, desires, interests, and even fears. So you want to say, do this or this could happen. You want to use what you know to convince people to think the way you do. The goal is to modify or reinforce audience attitudes. See, just modify. You want them to think a little bit differently. You want to represent both viewpoints. This is important in this speech, and will have to look for that. You want to make sure that you tell them about the other side, but why your side makes more sense. You want to appeal to the audience's emotions on the basis of sound reasoning to ensure that your speech is ethical. So you want to talk the truth, no making anything up. You need to have 3 to 5 references that you go to. You want to say Dr. So-and-so of such and such hospital says this. He's got the authority and we can believe him. Modern research suggests that for persuasion to succeed, the message must effectively target the audience members' needs. Think about the fact that they're thinking about how it affects them. There was a sentence for you. Their underlying motivations or feelings and acting as they do, and their likely approach to mentally processing the persuasive message. How are they going to perceive what you're saying? One of my examples I like to use is, and it's a really bad example, but it really hits home. It's like if I wanted to convince my audience of say you guys that devil worshiping is a great idea. Well, that probably isn't going to work real well because there's a really good chance that, let's see, out of the 20 students in the room or the class, I'm going to guess 18 of them are Christian. I mean, that's a guess, but it's probably a pretty strong one in this part of the country. And if I go in with the idea that I'm going to convince these people that they should be devil worshipers instead of Lord worshipers, that's probably not going to work. So the speaker has to have credibility. You have to have an expertise, a trustworthiness, and you have to have similar points of view as your audience. So nobody's going to believe that I'm going to stand up there and talk about devil worshiping and be an expert in the field. I should hope not anyway. I am not an expert in any kind of devil worshiping, and I can be trusted. So I would pick something that I would talk probably about emerging media or computers because I have a PhD in computer science, so I can be an expert in that field. So developing your arguments. You want to have a warrant, and not for your arrest, but that's the core component of the argument. It's the justification. Let me show you this next slide. So you want to make a claim, and you want to use evidence to make that claim. And then you want to have justification. Okay, so your evidence is going to be statistics, testimony from experts, things like that. Well, the Ku Klux Klan, head of the Ku Klux Klan says that devil worshiping is, 90% of the country is following it. It's like, and that's, you're not going to believe anything I say there, but that would not be my evidence. External evidence is the biggest one. It consists of examples, narratives, which means stories from other experts, testimony. It is the most common form. I like statistics when you're talking about persuasive speeches because you want to show me where this, 97% of Georgians are Christian. So that is an influence that means my devil worshiping idea will not work. I made that up, by the way. The speaker should be an expert. We talked about that already. And the warrants. The warrants is the justification on how to persuade people. They could be motivational. If you do this, good things will happen. They could be authoritative. I know what I'm talking about. Or they can be substantive, which means they have a lot of information that tells you, like statistics and testimony, that tells you there's a lot of substance in those thoughts. Counter arguments, audience may be persuaded to accept your claims, but once they hear the other side, they might change their minds, and you have to be careful of that. And also, the audience, if the audience is aware that there's another side and you ignore it, you lose your credibility. So just think about those things. There's a one-sided message and two-sided. We are definitely doing the two-sided message. We do mention the opposing point of view, so please know that. And organizing this speech. Okay, so you're going to see, and I'll show you at the end of this video, that there are 4 different styles of persuasive speech, and you're going to see that there are 4 different outlines on Blackboard. And I'm going to go through them briefly, and then you can pick which one works for you, and that's the one you fill out. So there's the problem-solution pattern. Pretty easy. Define a problem, offer a solution. It's probably the simplest one of them all. Then there's the problem-cause-solution pattern. This is also called statement of reasons. You define that there's a problem, and then you provide a bunch of reasons why this is a problem. And then you discuss how the solutions haven't worked, and then you explain why your solution will. It's a little more complicated. Motivated sequence. This is a long one. This is the 5-stepper, but it'll make sense when I go through it. I'm going to actually move forward here. So you're going to get the audience's attention. You're going to explain why there's a need for whatever it is you're talking about. You're going to introduce the solution or the satisfaction to that need. Then you're going to paint a beautiful picture of how your solution works. And here's the big one. You're going to ask your audience for a call to action, meaning you're going to ask them to actually do something. So please call your congressman, or please donate money to these poor dogs in the kennel. You're going to ask them to do something, and that's the one you would use for that. And then the final one is the comparative advantage. And this is the speaker's viewpoint or proposal is shown to be superior to one or more alternate viewpoints or proposals. This one doesn't get used as often, but because you're talking as if you are a true expert. And if you are, you can use this one. It's most effective when the audience is already aware there's an issue or problem and agrees that there's already a solution needed. And you're just trying to convince them as the expert that you've got the right solution. So I know that is a whole lot to think about, but if you look on week 12, and I know you have 2 weeks to do this, and I'm not expecting you to do it now, but I'm just letting you know ahead of time, there is a handout that talks about this, and there is also the 4 different outlines, and you just pick one of them. The handout explains each of those outlines to you, and you pick the one that works for your persuasive speech, and that's the one you will hand in 3 weeks. So that is it for this time and next time. Actually, I will email you along the way, but you are due to hand in your entertainment speech outline this week. The following week, you'll do your entertainment speech. Then you will do this outline, the persuasive speech outline, and then you'll have 2 more weeks, almost 3 more weeks after that to finish that speech, and then you'll take your final. I hope you're all enjoying this class. Thank you very much.